Welcome back to the news. The Prime Minister of Zimbabwe and presidential aspirant Morgan Tsvangirai has slammed Wednesday's general election, describing it as a huge farce that does not reflect the will of the people. Mr. Tsvangirai's comments came as Mugabe's ZANU-PF party claimed victory. We have more in this report by CFI.
Null and void.
Claims of an election victory by Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe were swiftly slapped down by Prime Minister Morgan Tsvangirai, who ran against Mugabe in Wednesday's general election.
Our conclusion has been that this has been a huge farce. The credibility of this election has been marred by administrative and legal violations which affect the legitimacy of its outcome. The election does not meet standard guidelines. It is a sham election that does not reflect the will of the people.
Shortly after this declaration, riot police were deployed at Tsvangirai's party headquarters. Yet Zimbabwe's leading domestic election monitoring agency also claimed that the vote was marred by irregularities.
Based on the empirical reports from our observers, regardless of the outcome, the credibility of the 2013 harmonized elections is seriously compromised by a systematic effort to disenfranchise urban voters, up to 1 million voters.
The National Electoral Commission has been accused of favoring Mugabe and his allies.
All polling stations had opened on
Mugabe's ruling ZANU-PF party claimed a landslide victory in the presidential, legislative and municipal polls. But Zimbabwe's independent press detailed cases of fraud before, during and after the vote.
And over now to the fallout from the NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden. He left Moscow airport finally for a temporary asylum in Russia, but the world is still learning more from the information he allegedly obtained from the NSA, including a new secret surveillance program called Grts. The program, according to The Guardian, allows analysts to access nearly everything a typical user does on the internet. Joe Jones tells us more.
Revelation from confessed intelligence leaker Edward Snowden is almost staggering. How the government, using a program known as Grts, can access emails, web browsing, private chats, you name it, along with what we already knew, the metadata that tell them about telephone calls and other electronic communications. The Guardian's Glenn Greenwald wrote the story.
It's an all-purpose spying device that really has no real limit.
The Guardian published slides from what appeared to be an NSA presentation showing how Grts works. The slides suggest the government can access its massive database of information about an individual's online activities by simply entering email addresses or other information into a computer-generated form. It suggests the government can even access the internet browsing activities of individuals on Facebook, Yahoo, Twitter, MySpace, even CNN.com. Snowden has talked before about how the program could be misused.
Well, I, sitting at my desk, certainly had the authorities to wiretap anyone from you or your accountant to a federal judge to even the president if I had a personal email.
The National Security Agency issued a statement saying allegations of widespread unchecked analyst access to NSA collection data are simply not true, that it focuses on foreign intelligence targets. Our tools have stringent oversight and compliance mechanisms built in at several levels. At a conference of computer hackers, the head of the NSA, speaking at times over hecklers, talked about the importance of the programs.
How do we come up with a program to stop terrorism and to protect our civil liberties and privacy? This is perhaps one of the biggest issues facing our country today.
At a hearing, Senator Dianne Feinstein said fewer than 24 people actually can access the sensitive information, and they are subject to strict controls.
The query, which is the search of the database, can only be done on reasonable, articulable suspicion, and only 22 people have access to that, trained and vetted analysts at the NSA.
But whether the government has enough safeguards is an open question that starts with the unauthorized access that Edward Snowden got, a sore point on the Hill.
Who double-checked Mr. Snowden?
Well, there are checks at multiple levels. There are checks in terms of what an individual might be doing at any moment in time. They
obviously failed.
In this case, I think we can say that they failed, but we don't yet know where.
You think you can say they failed? I mean, he's sitting over at the airport in Russia with millions of items.
I would say that with the benefit of what we now know, they did fail.
The NSA also declassified new information that says they've discovered technical compliance issues and human errors in the implementation of 2 of the snooping programs, but that they haven't found any acts of bad faith. There's also an intelligence court document that suggests the government is actually using a baseline legal standard common in the law known as reasonable suspicion before allowing snooping. Privacy advocates say that's good, but it's not enough. Joe John, CNN, Washington.
Now, international calls for a peaceful resolution to the Egyptian crisis is gaining momentum. Both the AU and the UN have dispatched envoys to Cairo, with the U.S. appealing to the Egyptian government to reflect the right to peaceful assembly. Pro-Mercy supporters, as we hear in this report, have called for a million march this Friday, even as the authorities called on them to disperse.
Diplomatic efforts have stepped up to put an end to the crisis in Egypt. African Union and European Union representatives have already visited the country. And on Thursday, Germany's Foreign Minister Guido Westerwelle arrived in Cairo. Speaking at a press conference with his Egyptian counterpart, Westerwelle urged both sides to remain calm and to work for an inclusive solution.
For a peaceful and good future for Egypt, it is necessary for all factions to be included in the transitional period and that all appearance of selective justice be avoided.
There have been numerous other international calls for calm. The United States asked the Egyptian government to respect the right of peaceful assembly. This after Egypt's interim government ordered the police to put an end to pro-Morsi protest. The government's announcement has raised fears of more deadly violence less than a week after 82 Morsi supporters were killed in clashes. But Morsi supporters have defied the crackdown and seem more determined than ever to have Morsi reinstated.
Well, time now to take another break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Let's now take a quick look at the weather report, courtesy of the Central Forecast Office.
The source assures us of a continuous flow, and from there, everything follows. And for those of us who know what the River Gambia stands for, understanding its sustainability in all aspects of life is easily confirmed. The River Gambia provides nutritious delicacies as food, while it provides its wildlife a balanced ecosystem. This river, as a sanctuary, is committed to its inhabitants' needs without season. And as you travel along, all these values are replicated in one company, Elton. Just like the River Gambia, leads in its commitment to values that matter most. Elton, championing the vision for a new generation.
Good evening, viewers. Welcome to the weather segment. We experienced light showers in the morning, which later became warm, humid, and variably cloudy. The satellite picture indicates convective activities over the central and the eastern part of the continent. These will eventually cause rain and thunderstorm in the affected areas, whilst elsewhere indicates dry and stable conditions. For the forecast tonight, we're expecting a humid and partly cloudy atmosphere to prevail over the entire country, with sporadic outbreak of rain over most parts of the country. The day tomorrow, we're expecting a warm and partly cloudy atmosphere to prevail in the afternoon, with chances of rain over most parts of the country during the period. Light to moderate southwesterly winds will dominate the flow over the entire country, and the speed will be about 10 to 20 kilometers per hour. Morning temperatures, we're expecting 22 degrees Celsius over the Greater Banjul and North Bank region, 23 over West Coast and Lower River, whilst 24 degrees Celsius over Central and Upper River region. For the afternoon temperatures, we're expecting 31 degrees Celsius over the Greater Banjul area and also Lower River region. North Bank will record 32 degrees Celsius, as well as West